I believe it's very important that citizens get engaged in the discussion. It's up to the citizens to tell the government at some point, please stop this quarreling, move on. We need to have a budget. This is not a viable country if you don't move on. It's in the interest of all citizens. So that's the baseline message I think that media should also convey to the citizens. An interesting approach which I believe might be fruitful to push the process a bit is that you engage in writing about the contrast. On the one hand, the people from the government who have quite luxury life compared to many other people with health problems who have to go to hospital and sometimes difficult conditions, who are very poor, living somewhere in a distant village, who don't have the money to educate their kids to buy a smartphone if they want to read the newspapers online. The contrast. And tell your government, okay, this is the story for ordinary people living here. They have the right to be taken care of. They have the right for proper health care. They have the right to be able to send their kids to a normal, decent school. They can't because this budget has not been approved. So that's a bit the contrast. That's one technique that's often used also. Present the story, make a story out of it, because stories, that's what attracts people's interest. People will be very interested to read about, my goodness, in that village there's something going on that's not going well, and it's because the government is refusing to approve the budget because they need urgent investment and whatever it is, a new school maybe, it's not happening. You have the individual stories of all these people who are victim of the situation, so that's important. That's one thing. Second issue, I believe you should question people. And I know it is not easy, even to get MPs on the phone. You have to do it. As a journalist, certainly, they simply don't pick up their mobile phone, they don't reply, you have to find all ways around. It's very challenging. Yeah? In my country, I cannot imagine any MP who would not at first wait if a journalist would call him or her, pick up the phone and reply immediately. Because if you don't, you will get it. The day after, you will see it in the newspapers, it will be in the media. You refuse to give any comment or to react on what the journalist wanted to question you. And people make a big issue out of that. You are done, it's over. You can go home, it's finished. You will not be re-elected, you will not be on the list anymore. That's the consequence of normal politics. So that's what you need. You need also to make it very clear to journalists. We will only ask you once, but we will continue to ask and insist, where is the budget? What is going to happen? Please bring the budget to Parliament, have it approved, vote, discuss. Put pressure on the system, I would say, by continuing questioning them. But on the other side also, tell them don't fool around with us. We are also journalists, we are professionals. Don't fool around with us. Don't make a joke of the media. Don't believe that you can survive without us. That's your strength, where you can make a difference. And where you should tell them, please, if we call you, you better pick up the phone, because if not, we will write about it in the media. We'll make a big issue out of it. This is not acceptable. That's the way you should also try to deal with it. Please.
Ja sam htio samo da odgovorim kolegama. Ja mislim da su Rusija i Kina malo više marginalizovane zbog svoje komunističke prošlosti, a ja mislim recimo da prvenstveno Amerika krši neka osnovna ljudska prava. Kao što znamo, više od 60% mislim da je stanovnika Amerike nema osnovno zdravstveno osiguranje, i kada gledamo recimo problem sa, ne znam, arapskim stanovništvom u Francuskoj, koja je isto parlamentarna i demokratska država, onda recimo protest koji su prošle godine bili u Turskoj, koji su nasilno ugušeni, ja mislim da je to isto osnovno kršenje osnovnih ljudskih prava, i onda mislim da nema potrebe da tako razmišljamo. I recimo koliko je realno za očekivati da će jedan Katar postati demokratska država. Ljudi tako žive već zadnjih 4000 godina u tom sistemu i funkcionišu, i ja mislim da demokratija tamo uopšte nije potrebna da bi se... Mislim, hoću samo da kažem da nije, ako ste demokratska država, da nema kršenja ljudskih prava. Ako se zadovoljno.
Samo sekundu, molim vas. Ne moramo uzmati Ameriku kao primjer idealne demokratije. Znamo da Amerika nije idealna demokratija. Mislim, kod njih još uvijek postoje države koje imaju smrtnu kaznu. A smrtna kazna nije nešto što bi se trebalo svrstavati u demokratiju. Ali imamo toliko drugih nekih možda primjera iz Evrope, dakle evropske zemlje na koje možemo da se ugledamo kada su u pitanju neka osnovna ljudska prava, kao što je, na primjer, pravo da iznesemo javno svoje mišljenje, da nećemo biti sankcionisani.
Jel bi se možeš konkretno navesti zemlje na kojim se treba?
Can I give a very small comment on this? I'm not going to enter into this discussion because it's leading too far away. But I believe what is important, please stop comparing countries and saying this is a better democracy than that country. That's a useless discussion. Please look into individual countries and discuss the merits of each country in various areas. Economic development, human rights issues, level of parliamentary democracy, involvement of citizens in discussing new laws and so on. There are a whole set of criteria that you should and can discuss, and that's a solid basis. But regardless of countries, you always find countries where things are sometimes better in certain areas than in other areas. But you cannot overall say this is a better country than that. That's never true, I would say. It's always much more balanced, and be careful when raising your finger against some countries. That's my advice. Please.
It's a real pleasure to listen to your lecture. Thank you for coming. I'm Vrsta Ljubičić and I study at the University in Mostar. I have a question about level of political culture in Bosnia and Herzegovina and what journalists and citizens should do together to spread political culture in Bosnia and Herzegovina and make it better. Because it's very low, and how can we do it together to influence our government and politicals?
It's the core question, of course, all the time. I don't have the perfect solution for that, but there's a process where you can go through. I already raised the issue, work at the level of education. Journalists, I believe, at some point you should also go to schools and explain what you are doing, what's your job, and why do you do that. Give children, make them interested in journalism, in reporting, in newspapers, in media, and following up. And attractive to them. That's one thing. The second thing is, as journalists, I believe there are two things important. First of all, we live now in a society where images are more important than ever. Sorry. We did a training recently with people in the Federation Parliament on communication as well, and I told them, why should you only send out press releases, these boring technical press releases with a lot of text? Images are so important. For example, you would like to raise the issue of the problematic quality of the public transport. Why not including a nice picture of a half demolished bus or whatever it is, to show what you mean by this. That's saying much more than just 2 pages of text. That's one thing. So images can speak for themselves. They're so strong, they're a strong statement. Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing. The other thing is, think about the story behind. Even about technical issues, there is always a story you can tell to sell something. I would like to give you one example. Imagine your government would decide we are going to renovate the football stadium, the soccer stadium in Sarajevo, because of the World Cup, and we participate and we will also be there, so we have to do something in return to boost this further. Nice initiative, but you can raise a lot of questions. Is this the top priority for our government? Is that the only thing we care about? Maybe there are other things that are more urgent, more important. But the good thing is, it's about the stories behind it. You can make stories again by contrast. You can indeed go to a former talented football player who is completely unemployed, has no job, no future, no whatsoever. You can interview this person, tell them, and have a discussion with them. Do we need this? That's one way to present reality. And to make it attractive for the people. That's a story behind it. You can also go and interview people, very simple, who a long time ago played in this football stadium, when it was a brand new stadium a long time ago. Who will certainly support, yes, we have to do this because of this and this. The story, the real story, that's what people attracts always. What is really behind it. That's what people will read, the human interest as we call it. So please focus on that. Whenever dealing with politics, don't deal only with politics as such. Don't only represent the statements, but also think about the story behind it. How can you package it in a nice way with images, with a story, so that it becomes attractive to people? That's also very important. And third,